What's good? Satoshi's mom here. I'm here with two fucking legends, Noper and 0009, both absolutely incredible artists. And meeting 0009 for the first time, Noper, second time on the pod. But both amazing human beings. I'm stoked to be here with you guys to chat more about what you guys are up to. I know we were just talking about Noper's going to Istanbul next week. You guys recently just dropped a collab that sold out. That was fucking dope. Love to see that. I love both your guys' works. And overall, I'm just happy to have you guys here. Welcome to the pod.
Happy to be here.
Likewise, man. Thank you for having us. It's dope to be
here. Yeah, first three-way pod for In at 5 The Art. So fucking history being made here. But overall, like, I guess we can kind of start out by talking about 0009, talking a little bit about you and your story, and then how you got connected with Noper, how you got started with AI art, like how you got started with art as a whole. Because under my impression, you've been doing this for a while, right?
Yeah, no, I mean, I've been creating art and painting since I was a little kid, like many people in this space. I went to, did art and design school as well. So yeah, I've been doing it for a long time. My story kind of starts in like the subcultures of like Los Angeles, the car culture, the skateboarding culture, and the graffiti culture. I was like really submerged into that. So a lot of what you're seeing, my art or what I'm known for in this space is the reflection of all those cultures I was part of, kind of coming out in my narrative. So like in my early days, I did a lot of like acrylic painting, and I tried to do the gallery scene in LA, try to get some experience in that, realizing kind of, how difficult it can be because the competition even back then without the use of like social media and stuff, it was still pretty damn fierce, But early on, I knew I wanted to be kind of like a creative my entire life. I didn't want to have a regular 9 to 5 job. Like I've had plenty of those. I've worked in the mortgage industry and construction. I've worked at a supermarket. I've done all the, it's like I knew I wanted to. And that's kind of what led me to go to Art Center College of Design. I learned about car design early on. I found it extremely fascinating, learning more about it, finding out that one of the hubs for studying car design was in my neighborhood or close to where I grew up in Pasadena. So I did that. And ever since then, I've been a, exterior car designer for the past 12 years. And that's what led me into AI artwork, or using AI as a form of process to create artwork, right? I got into crypto in 2016, was part of the whole NFT phase going, when it really kicked off in late 2017, never went away. Too much of my artwork on ETH. I started in 2018, but I didn't really start taking it serious until like I started deep diving into these, like the rabbit hole of AI tools, which was in 2022. And shortly after that, just being in the space every day and seeing all these artists and connecting with a bunch of amazing artists using this tool, that's how I came across Noper. I started collecting his artwork early on when he was dropping on Tez. I saw he was doing these kind of like liminal spaces, wild things, and I thought that shit was dope. And, obviously I was right because he's dope and he's creating more and more dope art. So that's kind of like in a nutshell how it all started.
Fuck yeah, dude. I love the street scene because it's absolutely bled deeply into your work. Your work is super fucking very the way you described the street scene that you were in LA. That's how, when I see your work, I can absolutely see that super evidently.
It shines through so much. I just gotta add that in. It's awesome. That's what drew me towards 0009 originally is and then after meeting him and hearing it, I was like, holy shit, he's just I feel like he's me in the future almost in some way. we've lived a very similar life growing up in many ways, but it's like that street stuff just called to me, and I was just I vibed with his art so well before I even spoke to him, and we started collecting our art on Tezos, and that's how it all started. We became friends from that.
Yeah, I appreciate that, man. And the cool thing is that what I'm really stoked with, I've said this before, but with the whole, like, being part of the graffiti scene, I was no like OG or anything. I'm not like Saber or any of these OGs from LA. I'm not trying to compare myself that way, but I was in the scene writing as much as I could. Like, I was obsessed with that shit. But at the same time, I didn't just want to like use AI to show an image of like graffiti on a wall. That's why when I first started, I really was doing like more of these like emotive, like conceptual, like, like paint pouring out of buildings in like a 3-dimensional way. I was trying to create like kind of like something different, and I'm glad it resonated with people. And that was the cool part about it, is that it clicked with people that weren't necessarily into graffiti, because it wasn't necessarily about graffiti. It's like what they interpreted from the art. So, being one of the biggest compliments is being respected by people like Noper and all these other artists that I really like respect highly, that appreciated my art. That really like was the driving force for me to be like, okay, I gotta like put my foot down and just like put my painting stuff aside and just do this 1,010%, like just go on at 100, as hard as I could, and just keep evolving. You know what I mean?
So you're full time as an
No,
artist?
I run a design consultancy, so I'm still doing industrial design. Like, I'm doing car design on like as my full-time job. So I just do what you guys know me from artwork standpoint is 0009. I try to do whenever I have a moment free at night, in between my son's homeschooling breaks, in between work breaks. I'm just trying to pump out as much as I can. I mean, I'm up. That's why my ass looks tired, because I'm up till like 2 a.m. and stuff, just trying to create as much art as I can. And it's not because I'm trying to like, I'm not just doing it because I'm like, I got to keep doing it. I just can't help it. It's just who I am as an artist. Like, even as at work, like, I'm constantly sketching and rendering car designs. It's what I have to do. If not, I don't have a job. I'm supposed to show ideas, so it's just a natural process for me to try to iterate. The ideation part of it is really fun.
Wow. What have you taken from, being like full time and also being an artist? Like, how do you balance the two? Plus you're a dad. Like, how do you do that? How do you find the energy? Like, or does
For
it find
real.
you?
I have to, bro. It's the first part of it. Like, when it comes to art, when I go down rabbit holes of like creating, like, I can't help it. It's I can't go a day without creating. It's just not who I am. It's just something I've always done, and it becomes an obsession, right? Like with skateboarding, I skated for like, I still skate here and there, but I'm a fat boy now, so I don't really ollie too high anymore. But back in the day when I was sponsored, that was like what I was obsessed with. Like, I could not stop thinking of skateboarding and graffiti. That's all I did. And so it just kind of like multiplied across the board. And it's like, it's like, if I'm not painting, if I'm not sketching, I'm, creating images, with AI. It's, I don't know. The hardest part of it is balancing the homeschooling and my business. That's kind of difficult, but I managed it. It's all time management.
Dude, I don't know how you do that. That's like, you have so much going on, but then you're so active like all the time. It seems like, from my perspective, like on socials and stuff too, along with all that. I don't know how. Like, so much respect to that, because I'm doing the art full time, and I feel like I don't have enough time to like stay active on everything. It's crazy.
No, I appreciate that, dude. I gotta be 100% with you. Art Center College of Design is what taught me time management. That was one of the biggest learning lessons I've had, because it's one of the most like insane programs when it comes to car design. I'm talking about like 3-4 days up straight, like, to just finish my senior like thesis and stuff like that. It's known for being like gruesome. I think it got like a cover of, I forgot which magazine, but it said med school without the blood, when it comes to car design. So I think that really taught me time management, and then also working in startup companies. Like, when I worked at Canoe, which is an electric company, car company out here in Cali, like, I was teaching at Art Center College of Design on the side. I was doing the artwork that you see behind me, which is more automotive related, before, I started going hard on AI work. And I was working 120 hours at the startup. So, I have to like, it's just time management.
What?
Dude.
120 hours, dude. There's only 128 hours in a week.
Oh,
right?
yeah. So it felt like 120 hours, then I should say. Then it wasn't
going hard as fuck.
Sorry. No, I'm thinking I was probably working like
That's gnarly.
90 to 100 hours for sure. For sure.
That's fucking gnarly.
Because the thing is, it was the timing. You know, so like I was only there for 7 months because I got burnt the fuck out. That's when I decided to go on my own. Because I just got so burnt out of doing that. But it was also because I was in the middle of a project that we just debuted, like a truck concept. So they threw me right into it and we had to like execute. So the hours were crazy.
Bro, okay. Fucking sick. Okay, I have so many questions. Like, how do you even do that? Because I'm on the same page as Noper. Like, I'm full-time as an artist. I'm doing the pod, obviously, and I'm also doing like an IRL project that I'm like pouring a lot of love and time into that I haven't talked about to basically anybody yet. But balancing like these things all within the same realm of art, and like, what have you learned over the years? Like, when you say that you learned so much from your curriculum with schooling, what was it? The Art School of College and Design?
Art Center College of Design.
Art Center College of Design.
Yeah.
So like, going through that, what did you take out of it? Like, do you use like any software or AI to help you with productivity, or like, do you write shit down in your notes and like just check things off? Do you use like anything like that, or like any productivity hacks or anything that you've taken over the years?
I can say I do use AI here and there with my like industrial design work, but that's on the early stages of things because you know, it lacks control with what I have to do because I'm taking ideas from like a sketch on paper and then I have to render it in Photoshop. It's called visual communication, and I got to turn the design around and make it perfect in every view. And I have to do this all by hand, you know, and then or I'll go straight into 3D from a sketch and then build it in 3D to help visualize or communicate my design intent, right? So with AI, it's not really in the later stages of refinement and execution, but in the early stages when I'm ideating and trying to come up with form exploration or things like that, I have used AI, but realistically at this stage, I'm just so comfortable with sketching ideas that it's faster for me to just sketch on paper and take a picture of it and upload it on the computer than it is to go onto a program like one that's used for industrial designers is a AI program called Vizcom, Vizcom, and it's getting really, really good because it's able to take like a sketch, render it with AI, and then turn it into a really quick 3D mesh model, and then you can spin it around and re-render it in different views. But I have to learn that program again, you know, so it's just quicker for me to just sketch it. And I know my process after 12 years of designing cars, like I have a process down, and sometimes it's hard for me to like deviate from that process because I know that I'm able to execute within a certain time frame, you know, which is crucial, you know, with lack of time.
Yeah. What's the secret to getting shit done?
Shit, man, that's a good question. I don't even know if there's a secret. It's just get it done. Don't try not to procrastinate, you know. Whenever you feel like just chilling, don't do it. Like, you know. And for me, it's like if I don't get it done, I don't get paid. And then if I don't do a good job, my client won't come back to me for more work. And then it's going back. You know, actually to answer that, the secret for me is remembering how much a regular 9-to-5 job sucks. I rather work, you know, 13 hours in a day doing my own shit and controlling my time than having to wake up at fucking 6 a.m. to get my ass to work by 7 and then sit in a goddamn cubicle and deal with a lot of people that I don't like. That's the part that I couldn't stand about a regular job. There was super cool people that I really enjoyed being around, especially the extremely creative people. Those were my favorite because they always pushed me to be better. But my directors in the upper, you know, when one dude is telling me that I'm not going to move up in the chain because he doesn't like the way I look or who I am or how I present myself, like, fuck that, dude. No thanks.
Yep. Agree.
Yeah, Noper, what do you think about that? Like corporate bureaucracy shit. Like, I loathe it at the deepest part of me. Like,
I hate it.
What are your thoughts?
I hate it. That's like why I left my last marketing job. Is they were just telling me to do too much shit that was outside of what my actual job was. So I eventually one more he came and was like, you know, where's all these like Photoshop like pictures? And I was like working on them, and I was just like, you know what, like I'm not getting paid enough to do all this photoshopping and website and everything else you're asking me to do, so I'm doing what you're paying me to do. And he said, oh, well, how about how about Friday's your last day then? How about that? And I was like, all right, how about right now is my last day? And I was like, see ya. So that's how I feel about all of that
Fucking go.
corporate office life shit. I hate it. Can't stand it. I just can't really take someone telling me what to do 24/7 when I know how to do like things quicker and easier than they're trying to force me to do it.
I feel that
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah, dude. Like what you were saying too, 0009, like fucking man, like just remembering how much you fucking hate that shit is power. Like, and just keeping moving too, keep the movement going. Cause like as soon as you kind of like chill back, it's like the momentum to chill is strong, you know, especially if you're tired or exhausted. I think if you just keep moving, you know, there's that saying you guys might have heard before. It's like, if you want to get something done, give it to a busy person.
Yeah,
You know,
exactly.
I do believe in that.
You got to be smart with your time. You know, hard work is the base standard now. You know, back in the day, you could be a hard worker and make it. Now that's the base standard. You have to be efficient and smart with your time to juggle everything that we have to juggle nowadays, especially as artists, man. It's not easy, you know, and I see people struggle, and I struggle right there with people, you know, every day. But I try to like recalculate my thinking in the way of like this. Like when people ask me like, how do you not get burnt out? Um, Part of my break is after I finish, like when I finished the collab with Noper, like we put a lot of fucking time into that. A lot of back and forth. It was cool. Like I enjoyed it a lot. My time off from creating art, which I didn't stop, was still the reflection process of looking at what we did and then like literally taking mental notes on like what I would improve myself, you know, how I would have approached it differently, maybe, what I learned from it, what I liked, what I would change from my perspective, because I think Noper just nails it every time. But that's my little bit of a break, mental break before I go into my next, you know, project or whatever, you know.
Damn. Like, so, you know, touching back to on like the artists and artists struggling and people trying to figure shit out and, you know, momentum and all of that. Like, I want to hear both your guys' takes on what do you think an artist has to do now in order to really crush it? And we
That's
can start
so
with
hard.
Doper.
That's so hard. I don't honestly know what it takes to crush it. I think for me, I think my I had a huge problem as like when I was starting out making art is I saw some quote somewhere, and it was like every artist like thinks their art is way better than it actually is because they made it. So like, and that just made me like realize like I'm like getting all frustrated all the time and stuff, you know, and I'm just like I'm making the best shit ever and no one's paying me any attention. And I think I just like I saw that quote and I just started like really doing a lot of self-reflecting, and I realized like it is like I can do better than this. This isn't like the best art I can make, you know. And I feel like that realization is what really helped me get to like a different level than I was at like most of my life, like mentality wise and like train of thought with my art. And I guess it's hard not to also self-doubt yourself, so you can't go too far with it. You gotta keep that balance where you're not just like everything I make sucks, but you gotta just have like you gotta look at it from like a third person perspective, almost like what would I think if I just saw this like randomly somewhere? Would it keep my attention? Would it draw me in, or would I just glance at it and be like, cool, you know? And I guess I always think that stuff, but I really don't know how you can. It's just doing it. I guess it just happens.
Yeah, I think Noper's pretty spot on with that. Like you know, it's a lot of like self-reflection. I think like you don't know what's going to happen, really. You don't. You know, one thing I resonate with what Noper's saying a lot that I've learned, especially in college and, you know, design college, was I was told numerous times, don't fall in love with your work. And that doesn't mean don't have pride in what you're doing and don't be happy with what you're creating, or, you know, it just means like, if it doesn't work out, like try to respond to it quickly and move on to the next thing and learn from it. Right. And so I try to approach everything I do with not falling in love with it. Like while I'm doing it, I'm super proud of it. When it comes out, if I'm showing it, it's because I'm proud of it. Right. And I think it's worthy of sharing with people. But I always know I'm putting myself on that platform where some people might not like it or nobody will like it. And that's perfectly fine. That's art. And that's part of not falling in love with my own work, because I do see a lot of times artists and designers will fall in love with something they do and it doesn't do as well as they expected. And then it crushes them because, you know, we put our heart, you know, on the line and showing what we're doing, because at least I know I do when I'm creating artwork. I'm enjoying the process. I'm enjoying everything. It's part of me, right? When I'm expressing my narrative or whatever via visuals, but that's part of it for me. And then I think just learning from it. Like there's no answer. Everything's going to be different for everyone, right? Connections are a big part of it. But I think what it is recognizing when you have that moment or that opportunity to jump on it, right? And then keep that momentum going. Or if there's something that seems to be resonating, the way I look at it, if you're creating it for yourself because you like what you're doing and you're enjoying your process creatively, then you can run with anything that seems to be popular, right? Because you're not creating it just for them or your community or your crowd, right? You're creating it for you first. And so if any of that little thing resonates with people, then you can just run with it, you know, and it's going to be fulfilling. And then you don't really see it happening until it happens, you know?
Exactly. Yeah. No, I wanted to say it also matters on like your intention with like the art you're making too. It's like I feel like you can really tell when someone's just like making stuff to make money and like they're not really like it's not them. You know what I mean? It's like and when you find that like trueness to like build towards like that sweet spot that you feel like is just true, is really you inside, and it really resonates. I feel like when you're doing that, it becomes like you're doing it for yourself and it doesn't matter what anyone else thinks anyway. And I feel like when people get to that, then that's when you start seeing their art like really flourishing, and you start seeing them get more attention and stuff on like Twitter and Instagram and stuff. It's like I've seen like it happen to multiple people, like a shift. It's like they realized or something. I don't know. It happened to me.
Yeah, it happened to me too, you know, and the cool thing about that too is like, even if the work doesn't resonate with people at the moment, you still have it in your back pocket. You don't have to get rid of it. You know, you could reevaluate it and circle back and see maybe the elements that you think are strong, and then, you know, iterate on that and develop something new from it. You know, it doesn't have to go away. You know, that's the beauty of art. You can, you know, I look at art that I've done from years ago. I'm like, huh, that's interesting. Most of it sucks in my opinion, but there's some like little nuggets that I think, okay, maybe I can run with this and try something off of that, you know?
Yeah, like, man, no, go ahead, Nober.
Oh no, I was just saying, yeah, totally. But I also still am delusioned sometimes when I look at my old stuff that I know sucks. I'm like, oh no, this is definitely like the best thing ever made.
Man, I feel like as long as like in a perfect day, right, we are, you know, no matter what level that we're at, you could be a billionaire, you could be like broke artist trying to figure out shit who nobody knows. But like, honestly, I was thinking about this today, like, who's happier? It's like we don't really live in any moment besides this moment. Now, it's always now. It's always a present moment, like no matter what. So it's like if we're grateful and we're like excited about what we're working on, that is pretty much the juice of it all. Like we're grateful for the things that we have, that we get to experience on a daily basis, that we've achieved, that we are working towards. We're grateful for our family. We're grateful for the people we love. We're, you know, like if you have kids, like you're grateful for your children. And ultimately, like if you're not feeling that like juice and high vibe from gratitude, you're really missing out on a lot of the experience that we're working toward constantly. And I really was reflecting on that, and also reflecting on being excited about working on stuff. So it's like, if you're excited about what you're working on, that is a really amazing squeeze of life that to get the juice out of, like, if you're not excited about it, you're kind of just going to fall into this like depression mode in a sense, like if you keep going down that path. So I'm curious, like, what your guys' takes are on that, like being excited about what you're working on. One quote that I recently heard, and I'm curious to hear what you guys think about this, is like letting mystery pull you forward, not really being like, okay, this is what I'm doing, this is how I'm going to do it, this is just like, I know exactly what's going to happen, but more so like, think about, as an artist, being pulled for your work instead of pushing for your work, like being pulled by the mystery of, holy shit, like I'm hitting new levels, holy shit, like what am I going to create, letting your work excite you. So I'm curious, like, do you guys feel that same sentiment?
Oh yeah, I definitely do. I think that like my whole life, like in high school and college and stuff, I was like you said, I never thought about it like this actually. It's pretty cool that you said that. I've been like pushing my art. And then with the AI video tools, it's like I didn't feel like I was pushing anymore. Instead, I was being pulled into it, and I wasn't like, oh, I gotta finish this painting, I'm already 12 hours in, like whatever. But with this, like, I'd just be waking up like excited, like, oh man, I got like 45 minutes before I gotta run to work. Like I can try to get some prompts like queued up to generate, And that's why I'm even like here, is I'm just so excited about it. And it's just, I still blow my mind with outputs that no one's ever gonna see. Like I'm just playing around with it, experimenting. It also like gets me so lost and distracted because I'm just running down experimental rabbit holes that like don't actually have any function in my art. It's just like I'm learning more about the medium, and it's just so fun.
Yeah, that's spot on,
Yeah.
man. That's so spot on. And I think I love that analogy too, is being pulled rather than pushing into it, right? Like, and that's what happened with me, as a rabbit hole. Like I said, I got pulled into it and I became obsessed seeing artists in the work that they produce. And I think that should be a constant. If you're not having fun with what you're creating, then why are you even doing it? And if you notice that you're not having fun, then you need to make a change. Artists need to make a change to go back to that zone of fun, right? Because that's what it should be. It sounds corny, but it's so damn true in so many things in life, right? And so that's what it is for me too. It's appreciating, like I've been minting my artwork on ETH since 2018. Nobody has seen any of that artwork before. It didn't sell, and that's okay. And that was pretty much most of my artistic career. I don't consider like my professional career that way because I was getting paid to be creative, right? But creating paintings and trying to sell them in galleries, like, I've sold a few here and there. You're grateful for it, but there wasn't much success, right? And then when I started doing the work that you guys know me for in this space, that was what I'm always reminding myself, is that like I'm super grateful that anybody wants to buy my art, especially during this bear market, that I'm continuously selling my art. And I have these collectors that I've connected with. That's the part I always remind myself, like when I feel like a little tired or burnt out, or damn, why isn't this working? Or I remind myself of that. Like, I've been creating art for 20 plus years. This is the biggest level of success you've had. And I just got to keep running with it and not take it for granted.
Power. There's a lot that I love about that, because like when you're being pulled into your work, it's clear that you're excited. It's clear that you're like working on something that feels good. And when we're not, we can get pulled that same direction as well. Or if you're like, okay, I'm going to do some client work, and they're like, can you make a fucking thing that like you don't really give a fuck about, but they're paying you like in a commission or something, like you can tell the difference between that type of work and the work that you're like, holy fuck, I have 45 minutes between where I'm at now and where I gotta be. Let's run some prompts, let's do some experimental shit. And like, if we're in that mode and we're constantly feeling that pull, I think it just takes you as an artist to places that you have no fucking clue where you're going to be. It's like better than any like design of trying to figure out like exactly where you're going to get to, and just let it take you there. Like, you know, do you guys feel like when you're working that time just like melts? Like you're in time melting mode. Like an hour is like done. Like, do you guys get that vibe too?
Yeah, vanishes. Just
all
the
the time.
day's over.
That's how you know you're working on something cool.
I think
that's like a metric for it.
It's like what Noper said too, that whole like discovering, like doing creating things outside of what like you're known for in the space or whatever, like that process of discovery and going down different rabbit holes within the medium. I think that's part of it too, because then that leads into bringing your narrative. If you've defined your narrative or you understand what it might be, bringing that back into that new discovery and seeing. That's the excitement for me, is like when I try something new, it doesn't necessarily relate exactly to like what I'm portraying as my narrative, but if it looks like it could work out and it looks interesting, then I bring some of what I'm known for into that, and I see what it looks like, and that's a whole new like process of excitement, you know. And that makes me want to go down that rabbit hole. Then I wonder, how can I take that into something else? And on the side, I'm thinking, how can these be physical, or if I want to make them like a physical painting, or, you know, so yeah, I think that's an important part of it for sure.
Yeah, exactly. And that those rabbit holes, those like experimental rabbit holes, it's like they don't even come in handy for like month. Like it's like I'm just now like finding a way to work this thing in that I was messing around with like almost a year ago now. Probably I've finally like found a way to get it into my art.
Yeah.
I've been using it for my pieces in my solo show next month that I'm working on.
That's dope.
But it's like, yeah, it's like that stuff just comes and wraps back around. And like I remember when 009 and I made our very first collab on bass, like a long ass time ago now. I was like trying to play around with like this new, I was basically trying to make like a method of like image to video work that I don't know, it was different than what image to video like is, you know. But anyway, I never really got it figured out for that collab, but a couple months later, I was doing a contract gig and found a perfect use for that workflow I was developing for that. So it was like it came into play like months later. So that stuff's just super fun. It's like my knowledge, my brain's just expanding. My IQ points are going through the roof with each AI thing I learn. I feel like a scientist.
Yes. Yes, dude. Like, so like huge hack right there. That opens up a lot for me, just hearing that. Like when you feel like your, you know, IQ points or however you think of it, like you're learning, you're moving, you're experimenting, you're being pulled, we're heading in the right direction, I think. Like that's like because I always try to like find metrics to be able to like be like, all right, like how do I know that I'm doing what I feel like is the right thing? And I think that uncertainty is something to embrace as an artist, because being an artist is like completely contradictory to most other shit in the real world. Like building this career is not like something that you could be like, all right, here's a book on how to be an artist. Like it doesn't really exist because it's so subjective. And I guess like one thing that I've learned really recently, definitely curious on your guys' take on this too, is like when I look back at all of the work that I've done and accomplished and what people have liked, and I have had success with like a generative drop, made like great money from doing it. And then I try to have more success after that by releasing like a one-off work here, like this looks cool, or today I'm inspired, make this, boom, let's mint it. That energy, I realize, is actually like turning on this marketing machine for one work, and it really can get exhausting and burn you out. So like what I've really learned recently is that if I instead focus on doing bodies of work, that's always what's been most successful for me. And what I noticed for most artists, unless you're like an X copy or like a person like a Grant Yoon or someone who's at the level where you've got such a big like following and audience, if you're doing one-off works as an artist and you're like, why am I not able to do this full time? Or like, why am I like not having the success I want? And you're just doing one-off pieces, just putting them out there without like a contextualization of a larger body of work, like talking about narrative, like you were saying, 0009, like that the hack that I realized is like, focus not on, okay, how do I get today's bread as an artist? Zoom out, remove that mentality, and focus on like, what body of work am I honing in on right now? What series of work am I doing? Because that's always been the most successful for me. And I realize still, like when I look at artists launching one-off pieces, they can have success with them, but like there's not a grander way for people to really get magnetized into it versus like you guys dropped a series. It sells out because people are like, holy fuck, first of all, your guys' supply, it's not like easy to get your works really. Second of all, like epic collab. Third of all, there's a contextualization of it all. So I'm curious, like what you guys think about that, the contextualization of bodies of work versus one-off works for artists, and like how important is narrative?
I'll start with that. Like, you know, honestly, I wasn't really familiar with like one of ones until the NFT space, until I started deep diving into the NFT space. Because, you know, being in more of the traditional art world, I was so used to seeing solo shows with like, you know, 10 to 24 pieces from the artist, creating,
Right.
you know, like you said, a body of work. That was more common. When I would see one of one works, it would be in a group show of, you know, maybe 10, 20 other artists at in a gallery, you know? So the whole one of one or Genesis piece was definitely, I felt personally that was more about it was more in the NFT space than anything. And I thought, you know, I did it myself. You know, I've had plenty of just one-on-one drops. And I think it can work, you know, it depends on what you're trying to communicate with that particular piece. But for me, definitely bodies of work, I resonate with more because I have more to say than just one piece, right? And if you even look at the other pieces that I've dropped, that were one of ones, it was from a context standpoint, it was part of a bigger picture. It was never just like a standalone. It was always like a continuation of what I was already developing, right? And that led into like a more complete body of work until maybe I felt like, okay, I want to creatively move on to a different direction, right? And I'm finding more success with that, especially now that I'm doing the more photorealistic stuff, you know, post photography kind of stuff. Even though I've been exploring that for years, I just haven't really shown people before. I feel like to contextualize my idea, my narrative, I need to show a body of work, and it becomes, for me, it becomes a challenge, because if you start ideating like themes on what you want to communicate in the beginning, and you think of concepts on how you want to deliver your visuals, you can always go back to that concept or always go back to that theme and make sure that you're in line with what that initial spark of inspiration was. And it's easier to stay within that narrative rather than just creating one piece that you think looks dope, right? And like when Noper and I first, you know, started talking about this bigger body of work as a collab, that I think that was one of the most fun parts for us, was contextualizing that narrative, that theme, the concept of how we want to deliver this, and then the visuals will follow based on all that ideation and the creative energy and flow that we had in the beginning. And the fun part of it for me too was like us, you know, executing that idea and then looking back when we were like, yeah, these are dope, we're feeling these, I think these are it. We, you know, when we look back and be like, dude, we fucking look at what we nailed. Like, we nailed our original concept. And not only that, it evolved from just a concept from our talk on the phone to the different stages of how we ideated how we're gonna like execute on the idea. And that was fucking dope. I love that a lot.
Yeah, no, I agree. And it was super cool
Powerful.
that it was like that one piece. Him and I made one piece together, and it was like, it was just gonna be a one-off, one of one, but it just felt like we needed to explore that idea more. And I felt like I had felt that with previous like one-offs that I had done. It's like once I did a one of one piece of like an idea, I felt like I couldn't explore that idea further because it would be similar to that one of one. And I only began doing one of ones because that's what I had seen in NFTs, and I thought that was like how, like what you had to do, you know? But I kept getting that feeling like I really like this idea, and if I mint it, then I can't like make more like this. So it actually led to me like not minting a lot of stuff that I'd make, and I'd just be tweeting it. And I have like hundreds and probably even thousands of like pictures and gifs that I was posting on Twitter before I started doing video that I just never minted because I wanted to explore them more. But I'm like with you guys on that. I really think a collection, like a series of a nurtured idea like that is just, it feels more powerful and it feels more sustainable too. Like just doing one of ones just felt like you're always just chasing, like it almost just it becomes a paycheck almost, I felt like. And doing like collections and series, it's not, it doesn't feel like I'm just making a paycheck. It feels like I'm really exploring like a really cool idea that I had, and I am diving in all the way, and I'm not thinking about like, oh shit, I only have like $100 from my last one of one last month. You know what I mean? Like it's like it's that kind of thing like really weighs down on you. That's why I'm really happy that I started this NFT journey with another job, because I don't know how I would have just been like doing art only, doing one of ones as I was like 2 years ago and a year ago. Like would not have been sustainable at all. I probably would have, disappeared like so many artists did, because it's just draining to live that way.
I also think from a
Truly
collector
is.
point too, a lot of collectors, especially with AI art, it seems like a lot of collectors are looking for a narrative. They're wanting to know more about an artist in terms of why are you creating these visuals, especially, it's just more than ever before. It's so easy to create an image that looks cool, especially like in the whole post photography range. Like it's a lot easier than it ever was before, when we were using like stable diffusion with no upscale tools. And if you got something photorealistic with like a depth of field, it was like, holy shit, like in 2022 and stuff. At least it was for me. And now that it's much easier, you can pump out artwork and upscale and be like, oh, that looks cool, I like the lighting, but what is it doing really other than making a cool image? So I think that resonates with collectors as well, because you'll see a narrative from an artist that resonates with them more than a different artist, and that's the way it is as a collector. You're not going to resonate with every single piece of work that an artist makes, and I like that, because then it shows that there's this kind of like bond that you have between the person that's collecting your work, because they're taking the time to really dive into what your story is and understand you. And that's important, because I think that connection is important too. And there's more of a connection in Web3 I've had, which is pretty crazy to think about, than I've ever had in any like real world setting where a collector buys a painting of mine. In Web3, we message each other, and I think that's pretty cool. And then I get feedback from those collectors or other friends that tell me things I even know was in my artwork until they told me about it. And I'm like, holy shit, I even think about it that way. That's really cool,
Interesting. Oh, I think
We
zero
lost
nine
them.
left. I wonder why. We just hit the we'll see what happened there.
I'm sure he'll join
He's
back.
trying to join in. Let me see. It should let him in. There we go. I didn't know if Google did it because Google's on their shit today. Nice.
I got
The 1 p.m. kick out.
Yeah, and also, are we good on time right now? Just want to make sure with you guys.
Yeah, I'm all good.
Sick.
Yeah, I'm good.
Nice, because this is an epic conversation. Like, I want to continue this conversation, like, of series versus one-offs, just real quick, because I think that it's so key, because I didn't realize this until really I was talking to Jamie Gurley, who's the founder of VerseWorks. He was giving me some really interesting advice, talking to Brando, the founder of co-founder of Ninfa, talking about the importance of series of works, talking to Patrick Amadon, talking about the really, really big importance of doing a series versus doing one-off works, because you're turning the marketing machine on, not for just one work, but for a body of work, 10 pieces, 8 pieces, 10, 20, whatever. I think like 8 is probably the smallest amount, or 7 around there for like a series, I think. And then also you're, you know, turning on that marketing machine for multiple pieces, but the network effect. So like people getting to get your work. Like if I purchase one of your guys' pieces, but I'm the only one that could buy that collab because it's a one of one and I bought it, there's no others in that series yet in that point. Maybe even if you're dripping them out, I still would argue that it's better to drop it all at once. So that way there's this network effect. It's like, yo, cop this, because right now it's hot, it's dope. I got one. I love it. I love what these guys are doing. I resonate with their message and their mission and what they're making and all of that, right? So then multiple people hop in, and then, you know, you could sell something out where like maybe there's more than just 10 pieces even. And it's like multiple people are getting on board. So it has a bigger dent that it can make in socials for the marketing machine, the effort that goes in. It's really, there's so many reasons. And I realized that.
There's
Yeah, go ahead.
You could also sorry, there's you can go like it's hard it's another thing to balance though, you know, in an artist's mind, you know, do I make a series that's too big or too small? What's the right size series? Like I've struggled with that thought before, you know, and me and 009 struggled with that on our collab series. We probably could have made like 50 videos in that series, but it's so hard to curate to what is perfect and what is really the vibe of it. And so I guess with like making a series over one of one, that's another thing you have to really think about. And it's something I never think about till it's time to think about. And I'm just like, holy shit, this is really hard every time.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
It's not easy, and there's no like method to that madness, right? Especially when you're pumping work out and it's all feeling really good. I think it also comes down to how you curate your own work. And a lot of times, you know, as a designer, I always think less is more in a lot of ways. Um, and I try to think about like when I do pump out a lot of work and I'm trying to communicate a certain theme or narrative, like do all these pieces communicate that theme? And if they do, is there overlap with the pieces? And if there is, which one is better than the other, right? From a visual standpoint, which one is communicating my intent more than the other, right? And then you start to kind of like narrow it down, right? But there also comes like a fine line where like when you do finally narrow it down and you have like pieces that you like, I think it's always good to take those pieces and see, can you expand on each one? And then if you do expand on each one, is that a crucial part of your story? But you don't know that until you try it, right? So to like what Noper's saying is like try as much as you can in the beginning and then try to reduce it as much as you can that really conveys like what you're trying to communicate. Because I think a lot of times I like seeing when artists do these huge drops and sell out. I think it's awesome, and it's unheard of other than the NFT space, right? Like doing a 500 piece drop and selling it out in seconds. Like it doesn't happen anywhere else, and that's super exciting for artists and collectors and speculators and traders, you know. And that's just how this space is, and there's nothing wrong with that in my opinion if you want to be part of that. But if you don't, then you got to change your time frames, right? That's more of a low time frame kind of thing, and you're hoping from a high time frame kind of situation that it lasts, right? That hype continues to last, and some artists find that success, and that's freaking inspiring. But it's okay to have a lower time frame where you reduce things and you take more time, and maybe you reduce the size and to find the right collectors for those pieces, you know.
Yeah, I completely agree. And, you know, like Photon is dead. We had him on the pod. He said this thing that stuck in my head, and he said, artists got to fuck around and find out. You simply, that's part of it, you know? So trying shit, it might not work. You don't know like whether we should do 10 or 20 or 50. Like, we don't know if we should extrapolate it really, you know? You can connect the dots looking backwards, right? Like Steve Jobs says. But like, ultimately, I think there's a lot to learn in just fucking around, finding out. And in that journey, we learn a lot about ourselves as artists. But the balance of it all. There's always this like balance as an artist, like curating your work is super key. So it's like being able to take a step back and be like, all right, like maybe I could sell out all 50 of these, but do I need to do that? Instead, maybe I take the best absolute fucking, you know, showstopper best 10 out of this group and I work with that. But still, even then, like just the minimum of dropping instead of just like a one-off piece and being like, all right, let's get this daily bread type vibe, which I was always on for such a long time. And, you know, looking back, I see how did I have the most success with bodies of work? And I think at least like 8 to 10 is solid, like 5 even is like good. And it allows people just a better idea of like what you're doing with that work and that, you know, the messaging and all. But I'm curious to ask you guys, like doing this collab recently, I have never collaborated with an artist on a level of like doing a series with them. So I'm curious, like, what did you guys learn from that process? And I know you touched on like how you got magnetized into doing that together, but what was that like? And like, how do you guys do it? Is it like, okay, like 009 makes the foundation, then Noper comes in and makes another piece, and then you build onto it, and then you each like go back and forth, or how does the process work? And what was it like? What'd you take from it?
I can start with that. Really quick, based on what you said too previously, one thing I can say just to circle back is like we have to normalize not selling out instantly all the time as
Absolutely.
well. That's something I think that people need to realize is okay, but it's
Oh,
also okay to sell out instantly too. You know,
and also don't fear failure and know how to pivot if you do fail.
100%.
That's
Pivoting
the
is-
big one.
You know,
Facts.
But
Do
yeah.
you guys want to mention anything on that before we move into the collaboration type convo? Because I think there's a lot to unpack there as well, like pivoting if you need to, or like looking at what you're trying to accomplish. And, you know, it's okay if it doesn't sell out. It's okay to experiment as artists, like making that narrative for artists, like experiment. And if it doesn't work, it's okay. What do you guys think of all that?
I guess that's another reason why just don't mint everything. You know, you can't fail if you're not trying to like if you're not trying to sell it, it's not gonna fail. You can experiment and just, you know, experiment. You don't have to sell every piece of art ever.
yeah, based on what Noper said, like it's okay to fail, but as long as you learn from it, right? It's not really it's not really failing if you learn from it, right? That goes with art and anything in life, really, without trying to preach or anything. But that's what I've learned. If something doesn't work, learn from it and pivot, move on to something else until it does work for you. You know, 100%.
Yeah. Eyes forward, you know, like we're constantly
Eyes
learning.
forward.
Yeah.
That's the OG shit.
Yeah. But man, this has been so sick so far. You guys are opening my mind up like crazy. I can't wait to listen back on this. And I wanted to ask though too, like we were talking about the collaboration, like how did that add value to you guys, and how was it? Like what big things did you take away from that process?
Hey, Noper, you want to get this really quick? I'll be right back. Okay, guys, if that's
Yeah.
cool.
All right, no worries. All good.
Yeah, basically I've only collabed with like 1 or 2 other people, and I'm not good at collabing. I've tried to collab with people like in music, you know, back in college and stuff. I don't know how to work with people well, with like a art project, I guess, because you know everyone's visions are a little different and stuff. I always feel like I have to settle, or I'm making them settle for like decisions. But I didn't feel like that when I was working with 009. We kind of made like we just made a big like idea sheet and just jotted a bunch of our ideas, just, you know, like just automatic thinking, just writing what's coming to our brains. And then from there we had like our main ideas we chose from this big long thing, and we realized that we wanted to break this into like 3 different themes. So we had like the theme of like first person, the theme of like second person, the theme of third person, basically in a nutshell is what it was. And then we decided we wanted to have each of those three in different aspect ratios to like further enforce that feeling of first person, etc. And then we basically took our ideas and we were like, I'm gonna go for this idea, and then you go for this idea, because we didn't want to have it like our own interpretations of the same idea. We wanted it to be congruent things that are separate, if that makes sense. So like similar ideas that aren't the same. And we basically just would send videos back and forth all day, every day, and just be like, that one's fire, like save that one, put it in the save folder, like that one I'm not feeling. And it was just a lot of back and forth and a lot of voice calls and just finding the ones that really worked best. And then editing and stuff after that was basically the same way. As we were just, I'd make a little edit and we'd send it. He'd send me a song and I'd, try it out. We were just going back and forth, and it was super fun. And I never got pissed off. And I usually have gotten pissed off at collabs.
Yeah, I think that's what's spot on, right? Like Noper and I vibe. Like we have outside of art, we have a lot in common, like music, skateboarding, things like that. So like that was it from the beginning. If I didn't vibe with Noper as a person, like I wouldn't collab. And this is I know for sure this is the first collab I did where I'm on the phone with somebody talking, ideating back and forth. And I think from the first conversation we had about this after our one-of-one collab that we had for math, we knew like, okay, cool, we can really do something with this. And I think also the beauty of it is neither one of us were trying to rush anything. We wanted it to be extremely organic, and it was. Every conversation we had different ideas. We didn't know exactly what we wanted to do in the beginning, and that was perfectly cool for both of us, and I think what was dope is we were feeding off each other's work. We already vibe with the style that we have. And, I would send him a video and be like, hey, what do you think? One thing I know for sure too, that I think is great is he's straight up. He won't just like beat around the bush. If he doesn't like something, he'll tell me. Same with me. And that's important, and if he was vibing with something, he'd be like, there's something interesting. But that was a lot of back and forth, right, Noper? Like I sent him a whole bunch of different videos that had nothing to do with what we ended up creating, because I was just trying to get the juices flowing and seeing what he feels like, because I wanted to make sure that we align with what we're doing. And the phone calls were dope. It just came organically. It was like one thing led into another. And then from that, like, for instance, the whole like Noper's idea with the whole aspect ratio difference for each theme, that just came organically through a conversation we had. And I was like, holy shit, that's a really cool idea, because you're switching up aspect ratios. It's further amplifying the themes, and then we would brainstorm on, well, what does that mean? And then we would talk about, well, what does each theme represent and why is it opening up? And like, that's why you see like with the whole nature scene, the more nature scene of nature taking over, it opens up because you want more of it, right? It's less tunnel vision, right? Like in the chaos of things are like shit, like there's so much going on in such a tiny bit of focus, right? But when it opens up and nature takes over, it's calming, it's inviting, it's things like that is what we talked about. And we'd be on the phone for like an hour, 2 hours talking about this stuff, and we did it a lot. And that was like an important part of our ideation in the process.
It was less that we decided we were gonna make a series together, and more it was just like 4 months of us just vibing and like with the intention of having a series at the end of it. You know what I mean? And it was just 4 months of us vibing and being friends and working back and forth, and ended up with stuff we loved.
Yeah. And the cherry
it just happened.
Oh, sorry, dude. The cherry on top, I was just gonna say really quick and then I'll stop talking, is aligning with fellowship, that was like the cherry on top for it all. Like, we know we had something dope, but finding alignment with like a team like Fellowship where we can drop with them and make it work out. And I mean, we got super lucky that almost all of them went to private sales, you know.
For real.
That was like the cherry on top for both of us.
Yeah, like it seems like, you know, it wasn't like, yo, okay, let's make X amount of dollars. How do we do it? Like that is so far from like the perspective, you know what I mean? Like, because I think a lot of people, they approach art like that, and that shows at the end of the day. Like it reflects through work. And you guys are completely on the opposite side of that spectrum of like, yo, like this, like, you know, it just kind of happened. You didn't say, hey, let's collab so we can merge audiences or like any of that. It just was like, yo, like we're vibing, like this is a cool thing, this would be cool. Like there was no like outcome, you know what I mean? Like,
Exactly.
yeah,
That's exactly
I
how
think
it was.
like that's so key in a lot of areas of life though. I think like of course we want to have goals and objectives, but like not having an outcome, like if you're going to a business meeting and talking to somebody, like perhaps there's something you want to happen, but like, you know, if somebody comes in and they have this outcome written all over them, like you could feel it, versus like, yo, let's feel this out, let's see if the vibes are right, like let's align stuff, let's let it align for us. There's just two completely different worlds there.
Yeah, focus on what you can control, right? I mean, there's no sense of getting together on an idea and being like, well, we're going to sell it for this much. That makes absolutely no sense, you know? Like, we focus on what we can control, and that is our creativity, the vibe that we had, the friendship that we have, and like we knew we wanted to do something dope. And if it happened, it happened. If it didn't, it didn't. That's just the way shit goes sometimes, you know? We could have been, if we weren't vibing on like let's say in mid collection or series development, we weren't vibing on it, then it might have not, you know, we might have not completed it, and that's perfectly okay. That wouldn't change my stance with Noper. He's still
like midway through, we scrapped like half of what we were done with and restarted. Like we were just like, we want to make the coolest shit that we can. We didn't care about any of the other shit.
Yeah, remember I sent that upscaled video, and it was like whatever, you know, and I didn't show any of that. It didn't. There was like 2 videos I spent more time on than
your upscales, yeah.
because I had to upscale each individual fucking frame. It took me forever, and there was like over 500 frames.
He did them by frame. They never saw the light of day.
No, and they never will, because when I look back at it, I'm like, I'm so happy I didn't fucking drop that, because it looks like shit.
Oh my god, didn't look like shit.
Man, like there's a lot of insights there. Like this is a process that we're focused in on each moment, and we don't need to have an outcome. Like outcomes end up happening anyway. And if we just look at art in a way that we're being pulled in order to create it, not that we're like pushing to create it. We're not pushing for sales. We're not pushing for getting a certain look. Like we let it create itself through us. Almost.
Exactly. Yeah, it was like our only outcome we wanted was just to have a series. Like we even were saying, like, even if like no one wants to buy this shit and it just sits there, like we can at least say we completed a series together, and that's really cool.
Yeah, that's lit.
I agree. And there was so much more we wanted to do too, you know, but you know, there's time constraints. Noper has a lot going on. You know, I got work I'm doing too, but it doesn't stop from there either. You know, hopefully we can get these animations in some, you know, venues somewhere. I mean,
They're in Seoul right now, by the way.
Oh yeah, there you go. So I think that's another important thing too. People and artists need to realize too, like when you finish a series or a collection, you know, things move quickly in our space and people forget fast, but that you got to be proud of that work, and you got to keep trying to find venues to show it, because it's still, you know, it still deserves that viewing, you know what I mean? Beyond just selling it and then moving on, you know? So
yeah, I agree. I just submitted my Natural Order series to get shown somewhere coming up, but separate from that, shout out to Art Space 55 showing Triple
In
O
Seoul?
Nine and I's series right now in Seoul. Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Fuck
dope.
yeah. That's so sick. I think we're on the precipice of more and more galleries, museums putting digital art out there, creating like, because the more ways for people to be able to like actually display this stuff, like the more that people are going to be able to do it. Like, because, you know, not everyone's going to have a token frame laying around or a specialized frame. Like the invention of white walls, for example, is a big step in the right direction, I think. Getting more ways to display digitally native digital art, like animations, you know, like moving art. And the more museums that start stepping in, the more galleries that are, you know, showing people's works, giving artists an opportunity to display works that they made years ago or whatever. I think that's helping to grow our space. So it's really exciting, you know? Um, yeah, there was one other thing I wanted to say and I actually forgot. But yeah, dude, this has been so sick. You guys are both fucking brilliant. And like, you know, I guess like let's talk a little bit about, you know, as we wrap up, what's next? Like, what are you guys working on now? Will you ever do like a large scale drop or like either respectively or in a collaboration? Will you do ever consider doing generative art or PFPs? What's on the map?
I wouldn't. I don't know if I'd do PFPs. I did dabble in 2021. I did Lucky
Right.
Parrots. I think we talked about that on my last one.
Yeah.
But yeah, that chapter's closed for me for sure. But I'm not against anything bigger with you know, videos or images like that in the future. Um, I don't think I'd try anything like too ambitious, like a 10,000 thing, but like a couple hundred sounds nice. Maybe one day of something. It'd probably take me like 2 years to make something like that though, because I work so slow.
Hell yeah. What about you, 000?
Noper, can you give us any alpha on your trip to for Silk Road or anything like that? Or is it too early?
Yeah, I'll be speaking in Istanbul for Silk Road from One of Us
Yes.
Network. It'll be my first time anyone will see this beautiful face.
Hell yeah.
Other than you guys, of course, seeing it secretly. But yeah, it's gonna be super cool, super fun. I'm bringing the lady across to the other side of the world for her first time, so that's gonna be cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and I'm working on solo show. I'm working on a lot of things right now. A lot of things. I don't know if I can talk about some of the other 2 or 3 things, but I am working on a solo show that's going to come early October or mid October.
Nice.
So yeah, I'm trying to keep as busy as I can too. You know, I've built a good relationship with Adam from Tender when I had my Urban Artifact drop on Verse. So I have a series I've been working on. It's like my love letter to LA. It's basically my story via AI outputs and like, you know, just my process with Photoshop and photo collage and that stuff. So I've shared it on my timeline. It's in my pinned tweet. I have more of a closer time frame of when the drop's going to happen. So it's going to happen hopefully on Verse again, with together with Tender, curated by Tender, sometime in November. And I'm in the process right now. I just made the whole collection, and now I'm in the process of like working with Adam to curate the pieces, the narrative, the story. Adam's been like a huge pleasure to work with. He's on point. He has an amazing eye with art, and him and I really connect. Whenever I show him bodies of work, I between us now, he'll know. I'm sure he'll know either way because he's a creative. He's done this prior to NFTs. I put in works that I necessarily don't like to see which ones he picks. I do this with everyone that I curate with, and he's always on point with the ones that I like, and I love that. It's not just because I like it, but because I like that he's able to see what I'm trying to communicate, and that those images depict my narrative the best, right? So
That's
we're
so smart.
honing. What's up, dude?
So that's so smart.
I do that to all my directors and my clients, dude. I'll throw in shit that I know I don't like, and if they pick it, I'm like, yeah, we have a problem. We have a problem. This isn't the direction, dude. I gotta tell you why. But no, it's really cool. Adam's just a pleasure to work with, so I'm stoked about that. That's probably one of my favorite series I've done so far, the LA series, because it's really close to my heart. And you know, each piece is a reflection of a memory that I have, and it's gonna come along with you know, the story behind it. And I'm hoping, fingers crossed, that I can find like a actual physical venue where I can showcase these artworks in LA. So that's the goal. And then I have another series I'm working on. It's kind of like this, it's like more of like this fashion kind of style stuff that I've been showing with like fabrics and skulls, or people turning into like Uzis or guns, which you know, there's a narrative story behind that too. And yeah, just some other stuff too that I can't really share yet, but it's in the process, and hopefully we'll be dropping later on this year.
We're doing a lot of really awesome secret stuff no one can know.
So
by the way.
Fuck yeah. Secret shit's always fun.
Secret songs.
Love to see it. Love to hear it. Like, you know, I love to hear that you guys are both doing shit that you're looking forward to. And I think that's the lifeblood of artists, like looking forward to shit, doing shit you're excited about. And the exact opposite as well is true, I think, where if you're working on shit that you're not excited about, it's like you're doomed almost. Like as soon as you feel like you're doing that, it's like you have to figure out a way to like stop or mitigate against it or get through it. Like so it's like being excited about shit and working on shit you're excited about, like so key. And I love to see you guys doing that, and I love to see you guys collaborating. It's fucking dope. You're both amazing people, and this has been an incredible time. I appreciate you guys so much for coming through and sharing your mind and your thoughts, and just, you know, keeping it real. And like, you know, like this has just been awesome. So thank you guys both.
Yeah, dude, this has been a lot of fun talking to you guys together. And also, I wanted to say one more thing. I also am making VHS tapes of all of my terrestrial factors collection. So I haven't told anyone yet, but all the buyers of those are going to be getting a VHS tape of basically like a compilation of the series. So it'll be sick.
That is fucking lit. I saw you sneak peek it on your feed.
Yeah. Yeah,
cool.
It's been a lot of fun working on it. I feel like it's fun working with my hands too.
Are you gonna get those puffy VHS containers?
That's like exactly. Yeah.
Yes, dude. Oh my god, that's huge. I love that.
When
Super nostalgic.
When t-shirts, Noper, so I can rock one, dude. I'll buy one.
T-shirts. Or hoodie. I've made some hoodies and t-shirts too, but I just haven't found the best way to like get them out, like to sell them. So I have designs, and I have like some test copies and stuff. I still know what to do with them. So that idea's out there.
Yeah, I'm sure buy it. Home for that.
Oversized hoodie. Oh my bad, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, you're good. You're good, man.
Yeah, any oversized shirt with either of your guys' works, I would buy that in a heartbeat. I mean, like something like
when
this.
When I get some good ones going, I'm just gonna give you one for having us on here.
Like, dude, likewise. If I get something going, I'll just ship it out to you, man. It's been a pleasure being on this space with you guys. I vibe with you a lot, Satoshi. So you're fucking dope, dude. And Noper, you know, I think you're dope. So I want to thank you for giving me a platform to talk about my story, dude. Because I think that's really important too. And so it's always dope to have that opportunity, and I never take that shit for granted. So thank you, man. And I've listened to some of your other podcasts before too, with some fucking legends like Jake. It's awesome to listen to. You just have a really dope way of vibing with the artists and your flow. So yeah, thank you, man.
Agreed.
Damn.
Thanks.
That means a lot, dude. That really means a lot. I think I'm always learning, man. Like every single time I do a podcast, I've been learning so much. So hearing that feedback really does mean a lot. Thank you. And I'm stoked to keep this going and keep talking with more people. And as always, though, you guys are welcome back anytime if you're doing another collaboration or even individually. Like, this is Noper's second time. He's the first person to come on the pod twice since I started. So basically, this is also the first one, like we said, with 3 people on. I fucking love it, actually. I think it's cool doing one-on-one, but with 3, it also creates more of a dynamic where we can like even have more of a brainstorm in a sense. It's really cool, actually. I really enjoyed it. So
For real.
thank you guys.
I've had a lot of fun. Thank you, dude. This has been super fun to be here.
Fuck yeah.
That's
Yeah, well, let's do it again.
Let's do it again. I'm down, man.
Always
run it back.
Maybe we can brainstorm the next collab 0009 on this podcast.
Live.
Dude.
3-way collab. We can brainstorm it live.
Hey, I'm down. We'll line something up, but safe travels, Noper, and 0009. Keep crushing, bro. Definitely inspired by your productivity and your tenacity, and like inspired by both of you guys and the way you operate. And I think you guys are an epic like combination as well, as far as like collaborative wise. But yeah, you guys have great energy, and I'm stoked for what the future holds. It's going to be fucking sick. Let's keep crushing.
I appreciate that, man. Thank you so much.
Hell yeah, dude. Thank you.
You guys are so welcome. Thanks for coming through. We'll wrap this one, and I'll talk to you guys soon.
Peace.
All righty. You have a good one. See ya.
All right, later. Peace.